Good day, this is Mr. Stole from Emerald Private Tutors. So we are based in Mpumalanga. You can contact us on the following vertical information that is displayed there. Okay, so today we're going to look at exponents. So we're going to start with the laws and also do some simplification. Okay, now this will apply for grade from grade 10, okay, to 12. Okay, so this is what you need to know. So the content for grade 10 to 12. Now let's just see here what type of questions that we can start with. Okay, in exponents. Okay, so here is what you see here, that we have got 2 to the power of 5, 2 to the power of 3 times 2. Okay, let's understand something here. What we have here is that we have got something in this form, and this is what we call a power, the whole thing. But here, what do we have? We have a base. Okay, then here we have an exponent. Okay, so we have an exponent. So our A is base, then B is our exponent. So there are laws that you need to understand how to work with this. Okay, so here for this one here, you have got the same basis. Okay, so let's do some brainstorming here. We have got the same basis and the powers are different. And what do we have here? What is the power for, what is the exponent for this one? We see that it's a 1. So any number, even if you are given maybe it's x only, it means that it's to the power of 1. So what about this? What do we have? We have now a bracket. We do have a bracket here. How do we get rid of this bracket? And you also have the exponent outside the bracket. How do we deal with this? So let's do some brainstorming and question ourselves and see how do we get to find the answer. Then here, we have got 2 brackets here. So you can see that we have got a smaller bracket inside, then also the outside bracket. How do we get rid of these brackets? Okay. Then also here we see that we have got different variables that we're dealing with. And and we have got 6 here. How do we deal with that? Then again, here is a fraction. In this form, it's a fraction. How also do we get rid of this bracket, and how also do we get rid of this fraction, so to simplify our answer? Now here we have a long expression here. How do we deal with this? Because here you see that you have a base more of x, and with the 2 and the 3s, they're different. How do we deal with that? Okay, so let's just question ourselves, and for those that want to try, just try and see if you'll be correct later on in the class. Now let's try to learn the laws first so that we can understand how to solve those questions that we asked before there. Now, if we have got same basis, we are multiplying. What do? We add the powers. So anything with the same basis that is multiplying, we do add the powers. For example, here, let's say it's 4 to the power of 3 times 4 to the power of 2. What do we do here? We're just going to make it simple. It's going to be 4 to the power of 3 plus 2. Then what do we get here? It's going to be 4 to the power of 5. And what is 4 to the power of 5? 4 to the power of 5 is going to be 1024. 1024. That's our answer there. But can you see how we are supposed to to get the answer? Remember here, you are not supposed to punch this in your calculator like this. You need to separate and show us the steps that you understand that if we are multiplying expression with different or variables with the same basis and different exponents, what do? We add the exponent. Okay, let's see here what we have here. We have the division now. It's no longer multiplication. It's now division. So let's say, for example, here you've got a to the power of maybe let's say to the power of b, then over a to the power of c. What we do here is a to the power of b minus c. So here we are no longer adding, we are now subtracting. So it's b minus c. But now what we see here is that what if m is greater than n? What if m is less than n? What happens? Okay, let's see here what we're talking about here. Let's say here you're having maybe let's say it's 5 to the power of 6 over 5 to the power of 3. What we see here is that it's going to be 5, 6 minus 3. And what do we get here? It's going to be 5 to the power of 3. That will be our answer there. Can you see that? It's going to be 6 minus 3. Then we get 3. But what about if we have got 5 to the power of 3 over 5 to the power of 6? What happens now is that we're going to have 5 to the power of 3 minus 6. And 5 to the power of 3 minus 6 is going to give us 5 to the power of negative 3. Now, that brings another law. We are going to look at it again. But that brings another law here that says, so let's just say this. The law that says if we're having a to the power negative n, this is equals to 1 over a to the power of n. Okay, so this is 1 over a to the power of n. So once we have a negative here, we're going to take the whole power here down as or and it becomes what is it, the denominator. Okay, now so here our answer will gonna be 1 over 5 to the power of 3. That's what we will be having there. It's no longer 5 to the power negative 3 only. It's gonna be 1 over 5 to the power 3. Then let's see here if now we are we have got a bracket here that we're having now. What do we do with this? If ever we are having a power exponent outside the bracket, that exponent multiplies everything, every power, every exponent that is inside the bracket. Okay, so for example here we are having let's say it's 6 to the power of 2 bracket, let's put 3 there. This is going to be 6 to the power of 2 times 3, which is going to be 6 to the power of 6. That's what we will be having there. So here we need to multiply. Then what about here if we have got, what is it, 2 variables here that we're having? We have a power here, it multiplies everything inside here. Let's say we're having 2x here, and in bracket here we're having 2 outside. This is going to be 2 to the power of 2 and also x to the power of 2. That's what we're having there. Then it's going to be 4x squared. That's what we will get as an answer. Okay, let's move on. Let's now see here. Remember what we have seen here on the previous slide here. What we have here is that we are having what is it? A and B are multiplying, and we have a power outside the bracket. Can you see what happened to the m? M goes to A, also M goes to B. Okay, what about if we are dividing? Same thing that is going to happen here. We have got A over B, and it's outside, the exponent is outside the bracket. What happened to the M? M goes to A, M also goes to B. For example, here, if we're having, what is it? Maybe let's say 2 over 3. Let's say here, we are just saying squared here. It's going to be 2 to the power of 2 over 3 to the power of 2. Then we get 4 over 9, like that. That's what we're talking about here. So 2 goes to all of them. Here is what we just what we learned from the previous slide, that if we're having ax to the power negative n, this is equal to 1 over x to the power of n. I think we all remember that. Now let's see here again. Here, even if it is in the bracket, we take everything under the bracket. For example, here is 2x to the power of negative 2. This is going to be 1 over 2x to the power of 2. Then we'll simplify further and have 2 squared x squared, then also 4x squared. What about here? Any number to the power of 0, a to the power of 0, any number with an exponent of 0 is equal to 1. Even if it's 5,798 to the power of 0, it still gives us 1. If it is 25 to the power of 0, it still gives us 1. So that's what you must master there as well. What about here? Let's see what's happening here, the difference here. Here we're having, what is it? We are having something in the bracket. We are having the bracket here. We're having the bracket here. Here we are not having the bracket. So here the n, negative n, only applies to x. It only applies to x. Here it applies to both a and what is it, and x. But here it only applies to x. So what's going to happen here? Our x, the power of n, is going to be the one that goes to the becomes a denominator here. For example, here if we say 2x to the power negative 2, this becomes 2 over x squared, because we are only taking down the x squared here, because the -2 only applies to the x. Here, the -2 is applying to both of both 2 and what? And x. That's why we take down 2x here. What about here? Understand something here. Whenever you're having a negative as an exponent, it's gonna change the position. If it's a denominator and it's negative, it's gonna go and becomes a numerator. Okay, for example, here if you're having 1 over 1 over x to the power -2, this is gonna be x to the power 2. What about if we have y to the power -3 over x to the power -4? This becomes, remember what we have said here, this one is going to go down and also x is going to go up because of the sign. We need to change the get rid of the negative. How do we get rid of the negative? We change it. If it was a denominator, it becomes a numerator. If it was a numerator, it becomes a denominator. Simple like that. Okay. So here, let's see our answer, how our answer will look like. It's going to be x to the power of 4 and y over y to the power of 3. Can you see what we have done here? We have removed the negative. How did the negative disappear when we shift it? It only disappears when we shift it from a numerator to a denominator, or this one denominator becomes a numerator. Okay. Then I think here is what I was explaining here, where we are having the exponent as a negative. Here you can see what's happening now is we are having, let's say it's now 2 over x to the power -2. What's going to happen here is going to be 2x squared, because we're just taking this one up, it becomes a numerator and it's going to be over 1. When it's over 1, we ignore that 1. Okay, so here it just simply explains everything here to understand what happens if we are having a negative. So once you have a negative, know that we interchange the two. For example, here, what we have now is that if these two are in the bracket, let's see here, let's just simplify it much better here. A over b to the power of -n. What did we learn? We learned that a to the power -n, the -n is gonna go to both bases. So here it's gonna be -n. But what have we also learned? We also learned that if there's negative, how to get rid of this negative? We interchange them. It goes up, the other one goes down. So it's gonna be b to the power of n and a to the power of what? N, like that. That's what happened. So here, then comes to what we are having here now. You can see what we have explained here. A to the power -m, b to the power -n, b goes up, a goes down. Simple like that. But here again, here is ax to the power -n. Remember, just check, make sure that if you see a bracket, take everything. If you don't see a bracket, take the one with with the exponent. Okay, for example, here we only see the -n on the x. So what happens? We take the nx, the power n on top. Here we see that the -n is on both a and x. So what happens? We take the n, we take everything up becomes a numerator. Now let's try to attempt questions here and see if we're able to do it. Now we're having 2 times 2 to the power of 5 times 2 to the power of 3 times 2 to the power of 1. What do we notice here? We notice that the bases are the same. So if bases are the same, what do? We add the power. So this one here is going to be 2 to the power of 5 plus 3 plus 1. Remember the 1 here. Don't forget, remember the 1. Whatever you see here, if you see a base only, just know that the power is 1. Now here 5 plus 3 plus 1 is going to give us 9. So it's going to be 2 to the power of what? 2 to the power of 9. Let's see here what we're having here. If we're having a bracket like this, what do we do first? Remember, we can't take 3 inside here because there is an exponent outside. So what do we need to do first? We need to take the exponent in first. So it's going to be 3, then we put our bracket still, then it's going to be 3 to the power of 3. Remember what happened to the exponent here is 3 times 3. Then here 2 to the power of 3 times 3, like that. Can you see that? Then what do we get here? We're going to have 3 to the power of what? 3 to the power of, 3 to the power of, in bracket, sorry. is going to be 3 to the power of 9. Here is going to be 2 to the power of 9, like that. Then what we have now is that 3 is going to, remember, it's going to go inside and multiply 3. So it's going to be 3 to the power of 1 plus 9 times 2 to the power of 9, which will get 3 to the power of 10 times 2 to the power of what? Of 9. That's what we are seeing there. Okay. Then let's see here what happens here when we are having a fraction. We are dividing here. What happens? You deal with the sign first. So here we're going to cancel the negative and negative are done. Then what we see here, we see 12 over 18. We can find a common common factor here. What is common factor here? This one is going to just punch in your calculator and say 12 over 18. Is it 18? Yes. What do we get there? It's going to be simplified for you. It's 2 over 3. So here we're going to have 2 over 3. Now, what about the A? We have the same base. Remember, we have the same base here. What happened to the powers? We subtract them. So it's going to be A 14 minus 6. Then what is 14 minus 6 here? It's going to be 14 minus 6. What do we get? We get 8. So it's going to be 2 to the power of 2 over 3. 8 to the power of 8, like that. Okay, can you see something also here? What we're having here, we're having a to the power of 8 on top here. We're not having it at the bottom. Why? Because it's giving us a positive value. Now let's move on to this one here where we're having 6. So here we start to deal with what is it? The numbers here. So we deal with the 6 times 6 is gonna 6 times 6 gonna be 6 times 6, and for let's just do this here. Okay, just for you to understand here, it's gonna be x squared times x. We're just trying to group them. Then y cubed times y to the power of 4. What do we do with the powers? It's gonna be 6 to the power 1 plus 1. So because we have 1 and 1 here, then it's gonna be x to the power 2 plus 1. It's gonna be y to the power of 3 plus 4. Then what we get here is going to be 6 squared, x to the power of 3, y to the power of 7, which is going to give us 36, x 3, y 7. That's what we're having there. Okay, so always remember, you work with the same basis. So it's good to identify those ones with the same basis, then you add the powers. Now, let's see here, we have two brackets here. What do we do first? This one is not a difficult thing. We need to get rid of the what? We need to get rid of the inner bracket first. So we're going to remain with our bigger bracket outside. It's going to be 3 now. 3 times, we take the 3 inside. 3 is going to only affect the 2, isn't it? 3 times 2 is going to give us 6. So here is going to be 6. What is it? A to the power of 2, B to the power of 3. Then outside here we have the 2. And remember what we have learned here? 2 is a power outside the bracket, exponent outside the bracket. What do we do? It's going to be 6 squared. It goes to everything here inside. 2 to the times 2. Then also B 3 times 2. Then what do we get here? 6 squared is going to be 36. Then A to the power 2 times 2 is going to be A to the power of 4. What about B to the power 3 times 2 is going to be B to the power of 6. That's what we see there. So here we are not adding, we are multiplying because it's exponent outside the bracket. Now, what about here? Again, we deal with the negative, the signs here. Negative divided by positive, you get a negative. So your answer should be a negative. Then 6 here, 6 divided by 12, you're going to get 1 over 2. Then what else do we see there? We see that we have got A to the power 3 minus. So I think my space here, let me rub here. So it's going to be negative 1 over 2, A to the power 3 minus 8, B to the power 10 minus 4, then also C to the power 1 minus 1. Okay, so here what we have here is that we're going to have 1 over 2, remember, negative 1 over 2, negative 1 over 2, A to the power 3 minus 8 is going to be A to the power minus 5, okay, B to the power 10 minus 4, B to the power 6, then C to the power 0. Then here is going to give us a negative remember here now, what do we have here? That a to the power negative 5, b to the power 6. What happens? We take the negative down. So it's going to be negative, then we'll put our under 2, b to the power, not b, sorry, it's a to the power 5. Okay. A to the power of 5, then b to the power 6, then c to the power 0 here is going to give us 1. Okay, c to the power 0 is going to give us 1, so we just ignore like that. So here, remember here, we got a negative here, a to the power negative 5. What happens to it? It has to go down because of the negative. B, it's the power 6, it is positive, it remains there. Okay, very good. Let's move on. Now, here we're having, remember what we do here, we get rid of the brackets here, we also get rid of the bracket here. That's what you need to do first, okay? So let's do it. It's gonna be 3 to the power of 2, x to the power of 4, y to the power of 6. Why are we doing that? Is this one here is multiplied by 2, is multiplied by 2, is also to the power of 2. That's what you're doing here, okay? So we call that 3 squared. So here for this one here, keep it like this. If you are still seeing other values here, keep it like this, okay? Now let's see here, down here what we have. 3 times 3 is going to be 3 to the power of 2. Can you see that? 3 and 3 to the power of 2. Then what about the x? X is going to be x to the power of 2 as well. Then because, but why now? What about the y? Y, you've got y to the power of 1 here and y to the power of 7. Okay, it's the 7, remember, it's not affecting everything in the bracket, it's only affecting y. So here it's going to be 1 plus 7 is going to be y to the power of what? 8. Then we continue. 3 is going to be 3, 2 minus 2, okay? Then x, 4 minus 2, can you see that? Then y, 6 minus 8. Then what do we get here? We get 3 to the power of 0 is going to give us 1. So we ignore like that. Then x to the power of 4 minus 2 is going to be x squared. Then what about here? We are going to have y to the power negative 2. And what have we learned here? We learned that if it's negative, we take it down. So x squared, y squared, like that. So we have something like that. Okay. Now, let's move on here and see what we can do. We have got 2 to the power, what is it, 2016 minus 2015 to the power of 2014. What do we do with this one here? Here we can solve. We can solve what's inside the bracket here. We can solve it. So 2016 and 2005 is going to give us 1, and to the power of 2014 here. Then here is going to give us just 1. So 1, even if you say 1 to the power of million, it remains 1. Okay. So 1 times 1 times 1 times 1, it doesn't matter. It continues like that. Now, here is what we have here. We have got, what is it? We do have the first bracket here. Can you see something here? We have this first and the second bracket. But can you see also something here? We have got same basis here. Can you see? We in the brackets, there is same thing. I don't know if you have noticed that. This is one and the same thing here. So we can take this as our base. We can take this as our base. Remember, this whole thing in negative 3x cubed, negative 3x cubed, they are the same. So bases are the same. So we're going to just write negative 3x cubed. We add the powers. We add 2 and what? And 3. So we're adding them. So it's going to give us what? 5. So now we're having negative 3. What is it? X the power negative 3 in bracket exponent of what? Of 5. Now here, what happens now is that the negative, also we are saying negative to the power negative 3 to the power of what is it? 5. If the value here, once you have a bracket, let me just explain something here to you. If we are having, maybe let's say it's negative a to the power of n, and maybe negative. So here for even numbers, if n is even number, then you get rid of the negative. It's going to be a to the power of what? N. Negative goes away. This negative here goes away. But if you have a negative a to the power of n, and the n is an odd number, then it means that the negative, it remains a negative a to the power of n. Can you see something here, the difference here? Can you see something here, the difference here? So here, once you have the, it's an odd number here, so the negative remains, okay? In your answer, the negative remains. So what happens now is that it's gonna be 3 to the power of 5. Remember, the 5 affect everything inside. Then also x to the power 3 times 5. Then what do we get here? It's gonna be negative 3 to the power of 5. X to the power of 15, 3 times 5, 15, like that, okay? So this one, you can just punch it, 3 to the power of 5. What do we get there? We get 243. But if they say don't use a calculator, there is no need for you to go further here. You can just leave it like that, okay? Now, this is what we have here. Then let's look at our I think it's our last slide here and see. I hope we are still together, guys. Now, let's see here, we have the 2. And the 2, remember what happened to the 2? The 2 affects everything. The 2 affects everything. So what can we do here? We can first simplify what we have in the bracket so that we have less stress here. Can you see that? So let's try to simplify what's inside the bracket. Let's say I have 3 here. 3 goes here 4 times. Then here 8 to the power 3 minus. So it's going to be, let's just keep our bracket here, 2 outside here. Then what we have here, we have got 1 over 4 already. Then what we have also, we have got a to the power of 3 minus 1, which is what? Which is, oh, we still have the 2 here. 2 to the 2 into 4 is going to give us 2 here. So we're actually having a 2 out down here. I don't know if you're understanding, guys. Or let me try to, what is it? I don't want to complicate things here. Let's simplify what's inside the bracket, okay? Let's simplify what's inside the bracket. What are we going to do here? What's inside the bracket? Okay, so here, let's have our bracket here and our 2 there, okay? So we have got 3 times 2, which is going to give us 6. So simply we are having 6 over 12, okay? Then for a, we are having a to the power of 3 minus 1. Then what about the minus 10? Sorry, this is the power of 10. Then b is b to the power of 5 minus 1, okay? So it's 5 minus 1. What are we going to do now from there? We're going to have 6 over 12. It's going to give us 1 over 2, okay? We still have the power 2 outside here. Then here what we have here is that we're going to have 8 to the power 3 minus 7. It's going to be 8 to the power negative what? Negative 7. Then here is going to be what? B to the power of 4. Let's put our power 2 here. Exponent of 2. Then here, what are we going to have now? We're going to have b to the power of 4 over 2a7. Remember what happens to the when it's negative? We take it down. Okay. Then here we're having the power of 2. Then what are we going to have in the end? We are going to have b to the power of 4 times 2 is going to give us what? 8. Then 2 to the power of 2 is going to give us 4. Then 8 to the power 7 times 2 is going to give us 14. So here we're going to say times 2, here we're going to say times 2, then here we're going to say to the power of 2. That's what we're talking about here. Then here is our answer, okay? Final answer like that. Now, let's move on to this. What do we do here? Remember, we first deal with, we can see that we first deal with the bracket, and we need to take this 7 inside. And what do we remember here? We remember that if this is an odd number, the negative remains. So it's going to be negative times the negative is going to be negative here, and it's going to give us positive. Then 2 to the power of 7, then x to the power of 2 times 7, then y to the power of 3 times 7. Then here it's going to be positive here. It's going to be positive now because of negative times negative. It's going to give us what? It's going to give us, what is it? It's going to give us a positive. So it's going to be 2 to the power of 7, x to the power of 14, y to the power of 21. So 3 times 7, 21. 2 times 7 is what is it? It's 14. That's what we have as our answer there. Let's move on, guys. Here is what we have here. We have got 2 and the 3s, okay? And we still have, you can see what we have here. We are adding the subtraction here. Now what we can do is that x to the power, we have got 2 times 3, we get 6 here, okay? X times x to the power 4 is going to be x to the power 5, okay? Then minus this one here, the minus here, because of the even number here is you're going to remove it, isn't it? The minus here we no longer have, it's going to be positive here. It's going to be minus 2 to the power of 2, okay? X to the power of 3 times what? 3 times 2, which is going to be x to the power 6 here. Then we're going to say plus. Now what we have here is that we are having minus 3 times minus 2 is going to give us 6. Can you see that? It's going to give us positive 6. Okay, then we're having x to the power 2 times, remember the bracket means multiplication. So x to the power of 2 times x to the power of 3, we are adding the powers, x to the power 2 plus 3. Then now what we are going to have here now is that going to be 6x 5, then here minus 4x 5, it's x 6, sorry. Then here plus 6x 5. Can you see that? So here now here is 6x5. Here the same what call same exponent here. Can you see that is x to the power 5, x to the power 5, and we can simplify that. 6 plus 6 is going to give us 12. X to the power 5 minus 4x to the power of what? Of 6. That's what we have here. Since we have got different powers here, if we see different powers, we can't do anything what you call on them. It's like we're adding goats and cows. It remains goats and cows. But here, if it's what you call 6x5, you're adding goats only. It's gonna be 6 plus 6. You have 12 goats there. Okay, that's what we're talking about there. Okay, I hope you guys you understand. This is the end of our lecture, and let's meet in the next lecture. Thank you so much, guys. All the best. Bye-bye.